but we're not really understanding how this whole system works. So I want to show you this tonight. If you'll take this away. Frank, thank you. Bring this up. This is just the way banks normally work. It's what he was just talking about. You know, Frank and everybody else, they put their money into the bank. Then when, let's say, I want to get a loan, there's the evil banker, and I mean, I don't think the artist needed to make me that fat. If I needed a loan, that's really disturbing. If I needed a loan, the banker gives it to me, but it's not his money, it's all of my neighbor's money going into the bank. That's the way it normally works. Okay, we learned that on It's a Wonderful Life. Now let me show you how our system of government works. Usually when they want to build a road, or let's say Big Fat Glenn needs something. Big Fat Glenn needs a favor from Big Fat Barney Frank. Barney Frank is there to save the day. All right, so what happens? All of our money goes to the Treasury. This is our income tax, goes to the Treasury, and Big Fat Glenn, he needs some help here, because I've got some red-headed, ugly stepchildren, apparently, and Big Fat Barney Frank says, gee, Glenn, I'd sure love to help you out, so he sends me some money. That's how it, I guess, is supposed to work in our system. Everybody is paying the Treasury, it goes through Congress, and it comes to the people who need the help. Now, this is the way it's been happening for the last few years. Barney Frank's got some new friends. He's got the evil banker, he's got crazy Nancy Pelosi, and Barney Frank doing something he's never done before, shaking his head like, no. Here he goes. We've got a few problems here because there's not enough money coming over to the Treasury, because now we're starting to have hard times. Actually, for a while there, it's just that Barney Frank and his friends were spending it too fast. So where do we get the money for, let's say, a Big Fat Glenn spending bill? We need a spending bill, right? Well, Barney Frank will propose a spending bill. He'll send it down to the Treasury. Normally, if this was working right, the Treasury would just give him the money, but we don't have any money. So now we have to sell this bill to China. Oh, and Chairman Mao is more than happy to provide the dough for us. So he does. He gives us the money, sends it to Barney Frank and his friends, and Big Fat Barney Frank says, yeah, baby, have more children. You're Octodad. We love that. And I'm now, with my weird-headed children, enslaved by all of this money. That's the way it has been happening. Now let me show you what we've been doing in the last few months. Here it is. I've got more children. There's the one lonely dollar coming over to the Treasury. Here's the Big Fat Beck bill coming from Barney Frank up to China. But this time, China says no thank you, because Barney's having just a little bit too much to eat here. So the Fed comes in. The Fed, remember, has been being bailed out. There's bailing out all of the banks. The Fed doesn't have any money, but they tell the Treasury, we'll give you IOUs, trust us. The evil banker, who's no longer being seen behind Barney Frank, is good for it. So the Fed gives the IOUs, the Treasury prints the money, gives it to the Fed then gives it to Barney Frank, who then sends it to all of my ugly little red-headed stepchildren, and that's the system we're operating on. But here's the problem. See, you don't understand it, just like Jimmy Stewart said. This system can't last. We can't keep printing money because the government becomes bigger and more bloated, and before you know it, buttons are flying off of his shirt. And there's really nothing left except a bunch of children who really don't know how to work anymore. They don't know what to do except stand there and go, I need some money. And the Fed is remaining standing. The Fed, the one thing that it seems to me nobody is questioning. What's your role here exactly?